To make spaghetti, take linguine noodles. Um, Measure that however much you make will be multiplied by a good 3 or 4 times, proportionate to the amount of pasta that you have, so don't make too much. And fill the pot with water until you've reached about half full. Once it seems about full, make sure that the pasta isn't too stuck together in the water, because if they are stuck together when they are cooking, then they will sort of get sealed together and become one very thick, only half-cooked noodle. Once you've done that, set the water to high so that it can reach a boil. And once it has begun to boil and the noodles have started to soften up, stir until it reaches a nice, flat consistency along the surface of the water. While the noodles are boiling, take a smaller pot, fill it with tomato sauce, then bring it up to a bit of a higher heat. Leave it on at a simmer. Wait until you start to see little air pops come out from underneath the tomato sauce. Then add in some meatballs. If you would like it to go faster, add a lid. Traps the heat in, makes it so that it will come to the heat faster. While those are cooking, get sharp cheddar, shredded Parmesan cheese, and cream cheese. Any kind would work. This is just what I have. Once your noodles have softened up to look sort of like this, you can begin to stir them in until the entire noodles are submerged into the water, as they are here. Once they soften up a bit more, you continuously stir, and then once it looks like they've softened up enough to just sit on their own, you can take a lid and leave it be for a little while. After that, take it off high, bring it down to a still hot but lower temperature, and then leave it for a little bit to sit. And then once it is completely steamed up and you can see the water boiling through, stir it a bit more and continue to do so until it looks about done to your taste. Once it's started to bubble and boil, and you can see that there has been a drastic increase in the pasta because of the expansion it does, take the lid off and keep it off so that way it doesn't boil over and bubble like it did with me. And stir continuously whenever you see it becoming to boil like that, and move it around so not just one place gets the heat from the stovetop. That's just there. Once it begins to bubble up just like that, grab your cream cheese from before, get 2 tablespoons of it, then stir it in until it and the sauce just sort of become one. Once they've mixed together and you get this sort of brighter color with it, get your meatballs and add them in. Add in enough meatballs that the sauce in them are both visible, but not enough that they won't both cook. Once you've got something that looks about like this, let them keep cooking with the top on, and then bring it up from simmer to around there, and then leave them to cook. And while that's going, remember to stir your spaghetti so that it becomes evenly cooked. Once the pasta begins to look about like this, when the noodles are seemingly looking cooked, bring it down to a simmer and let it remain on that using the leftover heat until it should be about done. While it's left like that, remember to put a lid on so the heat stays in, and what's left of the boiling water and the just about done noodles will be perfectly cooked. And then once you feel that the noodles are looking good, you can take the lid off and drain it. And once you've done that, remember to turn the stovetop off that it was sitting on. While the pasta is still steaming and the pan is still hot, add in your noodles. Then grab the cheddar cheese, put it in there in the pot with it until you have a cup of the shredded cheese. And stir until it mixes into the noodles nicely. Once it's become nice and cheesy and spread out like that, you will need to add a little bit of liquid. You could use milk, which I would also recommend. Water may make the cheese in there sort of a little coagulated, but personally I would recommend some cottage cheese because the cottage parts will melt out and it will leave it with a nice creamy consistency in there, and add just a hint of flavor in there while it's at it. If you do choose to do that, add about a spoonful and a half of it. But do still add just a little bit of milk, about a dash, because the cheese will make the noodles stick together, and the cottage cheese will not do much to help that, although it will give a nice creamy consistency. Once you've got something like this, where the noodles are not sticking together much, but they're still in that cheesy state, you'll know you've got it all. And realistically, you could probably eat the sesame meal in itself. It's basically just long mac and cheese. Once you see the pasta sauce start to bubble up again, just like that, even with the meatballs inside it, that means they are starting to become cooked. And if you can push a fork into one, you know they're about done. But if you get some resistance from it while you're doing that, you might need to stir it up just a little to get the ones on the top down below, and then leave it in for a few more minutes. Once it just pushes through the meatball all the way like this on its own, you'll know it's done. Once you've done all that, you're basically done. Grab yourself a bowl and get a helping as big as you please. What I like to sort of do is, since the noodles are a bit cheesed up and they have malleability now with that, you can make yourself a little nest with that, and you can fill it up with meatballs and sauce. Once you've got an amount of sauce and meatballs to your liking, feel free to dig in and enjoy. My ways of cooking may be unorthodox, and my ways of recording may be shabby at best, but my food definitely does taste good. So, if there's anything else you'd like to see me make or give a recipe for, just leave it in the comments down below. See you later.